Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome to our coffee times. Today we're here to discuss the new season on the Haunting anthology, and that is The Haunting of Bly Manor.
It's coffee time!
This has been one of my most expected Netflix releases, and it just came out on the 9th of October, and of course I had to binge it, and we're sitting down here today to talk about it. It's going to be completely spoiler free. I'm just gonna vaguely kind of mention a little bit about the characters, the topic, the setting, a little bit about the story, but it's going to be spoiler free. Before we go more into detail, if you love horror and if you love movies and series and collectibles, anything like that, please consider subscribing to the channel and also click on the notification bell. So The Haunting of Bly Manor, it's an American web television series created again by Mac Flanagan, and this is going to be the second installment on the Haunting anthology, which are basically different series that are completely different from each other, but they all have together the topic of the haunting, and they are exploring this topic in different ways. In the first season, The Haunting of Hill House, it was more focused on a family of, sisters and brothers returning home and dealing with a hunting of some specific ghosts from their past. However, in the second installment, in The Haunting of Bly Manor, we're going to find ourselves in a different situation. The Haunting of Bly Manor, it is inspired by the works of Henry James, but unlike at the beginning that we all assumed, or at least I did, that this was based only on The Turn of the Screw, published in 1898, it actually does also reference other works by Henry James, so don't be surprised when you go into it and you see also references to other characters and other things that happens in other of his books. We get the same creative team that already worked on The Haunting of Hill House, and also some of the cast members of that first season are returning for season 2. However, they are taking roles of completely different characters, which might be a little bit confusing for some people, but you have to keep in mind that these are completely different stories. A lot of people have been trying to compare them, trying to see which one is better, but the truth is that they are very different things. The story of Bly Manor focuses at the beginning at least more on Danny. We are in 1987, even though later on in the show we're going to be making some back and forth jumps in time. So Danny is a young American abroad, and she finds this job as a governess in Bly Manor, taking care of 2 little kids after their parents tragically die in an accident. So as soon as she gets into the manor, she starts to feel that she's seeing things from her past are coming to haunt her, and that's when we start kind of unraveling a little bit her past and the reason why she flew away from that as far as she could. The whole cast that we already got to see in The Haunting of Hill House were amazing, and also the new additions to the cast were incredible strong. The kids were, it's one of the best performances I've seen on kids in this kind of really intense and really traumatic shows, especially the kid, the boy Miles. The actor had so many challenges throughout the whole show, and I was really mesmerized by his performance, and he's definitely one to watch if he's able to perform like that being just a kid. And it was such an intense series for him. I have to really applaud him. One of the reasons why I really enjoyed Bly Manor is that you really get to see everyone's kind of backstory. You do get to experience each character's story, and even the story of some of the ghosts that you're going to be seeing in this manor. I feel like in Hill House that would have been also amazing to kind of really go into more detail into the different kind of ghosts that were hiding here and there in the shadows and get to know their stories a little bit more. So this is something that in Bly Manor I got that for me was a really positive extra. The series does start exactly like the turn of the screw. We have a group of people that are gathered around a fire, and a woman starts to tell a story that she heard about, and she says it's going to be a ghost story. This season felt like an exploration of what it means to be a ghost. It is about loss, about tragedy. It does include some romance. There are different types of romantic stories that we're going to see throughout the series, but this is not a romantic series. Don't be scared that this is going to be too like cheesy love story, anything like that. It's actually very depressing and sad and traumatic, and it did such a wonderful job to tell a beautiful love story, but with all of the tragedy that it also entails when there is loss. As Hill House was, Bly Manor, it is just wonderfully shot. The visuals are amazing. The attention to detail, the production level, it's just wonderful to see. And I just love the way of the camera works. And I love those long scenes that were really popular on Hill House, especially that really long scene where there was no cut in the editing for minutes, and it was fantastic. That was just pure visual enjoyment. And I felt like here in Bly Manor we do get to see some of those camera explorations where the camera just moves but we're not cutting the scenes, and I just love that so much. However, Bly Manor was less of a horror story than Hill House was, so I know a lot of people were a little bit disappointed because there was less horror in the story. However, the atmosphere, the creepiness of it, it also has some disturbing visuals. It does have some messed up stuff, honestly, and you do get some jump scares as well, but this is focusing a little bit more on like traumatic events and tragedy and the heaviness of it all. But we also get to see some ghosts, and they managed to bring something new with the ghost this time around. I'm not gonna say anything more about it because I don't want to spoil anything. And there's also something going on in this series with dolls that adds a level of creepiness to it as well. And I don't know, I just really like that they did a really smart thing, which is to portray ghosts in a completely different way than we got to see in Hill House. Honestly, I was expecting a complete different series. I did not go into this with the expectation that it was going to be the same thing as Hill House. Actually, I would have been disappointed. Of course, I wanted to see more from the family of Hill House because we all fell in love with them and the characters, but I knew that in order for this season to be good, they had to do something completely different, and honestly, I absolutely love this. The ending of each episode really leaves you wanting more. It leaves you with questions unanswered. It leaves you sometimes in cliffhangers, and you just crave more. So this is a really bingeable show, even though there are 9 episodes and they're all like around 40-50 minutes long, so they're fairly long. Also, another thing about Bly Manor is that we're kind of exploring something that feels a little bit more hitting home. Something that, even though it's a supernatural show that includes ghosts, it kind of feels like this fear that we all have as human, which is basically to the fear of loss of a loved one, and the fear of death, of course, because we're talking about ghosts. The only thing that I would say might put some people off or might kind of make people disconnect is that there are different storylines that they're kind of coming together, and the pacing of these storylines is very different, and so sometimes we will jump back and forth to different characters with different storylines, and that can be a little bit distracting or a little bit frustrating because you're getting super invested in a character and then the next moment you're changing to another one, and that story starts with another pacing, and it can be a little bit frustrating. But trust me, when you're getting closer to the end, everything starts to make so much sense. It is so worth it, and the last 2 episodes were insanity. They were so good. I was like, I couldn't like stop watching. I was mesmerized. Bly Manor was a wonderful gothic ghost romance story. It was tragic. It is about love in so many levels, you know, like family, loving your children, loving your sister, also of course partners and loving your partner and losing a partner, things like that. It's just such a wonderful exploration of all of these tragical losses that can happen in life, and it is so beautifully executed, and it's gonna make you kind of sad. Like towards the end, you just want to go into a corner and cry because it's hitting you in all the feels. It is very deep, and it is definitely one that it is kind of sad and depressing. So I just wanted to mention that if you're gonna go into this series, I hope that you're in a good mental space because it can be really hard at times. Basically, in Hill House, we had this family that we were all loving and enjoying, and we have, you know, your classical idea of a family, which is, you know, mother, father, and children. And in Bly Manor, we have another type of family, which is a group of people that have found themselves together in the same house. We have, you know, the governess, we have somebody that's taking care of the property, the character of Hannah, which amazing job. And we have the cook, we have the gardener, we have the kids, and they all kind of form this bond like a family. And even though they're completely different, it kind of reminded me of the movie A Ghost Story, because that is another exploration of what is a ghost, and, you know, trauma and psychological exploration of character, that it was done in such a beautiful yet different way. And I felt a little bit like Bly Manor was the same thing. It's an exploration of what ghosts are in a way that you don't get to see too often in horror. So you guys, I ended up giving this season a 5-star rating. No wonder there, same as for the first season. Absolutely love it, would rewatch it anytime. One of my favorite, you know, seasons out there. Well, series, anthology series out there. Definitely the 2 seasons that are out there are super strong, and I just cannot wait to see what they come up with for the next season. I'm hoping that Netflix is going to announce soon if we're gonna get one for sure. I just really want to know, and it's going to be wonderful to see what's the next haunting exploration that they choose to go for. Alright you guys, so I hope that you enjoyed my spoiler-free review of the Haunting of Bly Manor. Let me know down below if you have started watching the series yourself. If you also, like me, binged it through the weekend, let me know what you thought about it. Let's talk about it in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. I appreciate the support. Please give the video a big thumbs up, and if you want to follow me in other social media, as always, the links are down below. And I hope to see you all in the next coffee time. Bye!